Good morning, people. We are live on Facebook and YouTube at the minute. Now, if you're scrolling through and you're up early like us, and you're wondering why there's three tired-looking blokes picking sleep out their eyes and cornflakes out their teeth like Marcus, it's because we've got up early to have a chat with Dan Bunce about his plastering journey, moving from being a chef into the plastering trade. Now, if you've got any questions at all, smash them in the comments, guys. And we'll do our best to answer them at the end. I've got one or two already from YouTube because I put a little video up last night, which I'll ask. I'll throw them in at the end. But yeah, we've got Dan Bunce here. Dan's recently joined the MAP program as well with myself and Marcus, with Craig Wilkinson. It was suggested by Craig that we all sort of huddle together and have a bit of a chit chat, a bit of a chinwag about plastering. And I thought probably be best to share this across Trial Talk as well, given that there's a lot of new startups and people that might be thinking about changing careers, turning their careers on their heads and entering the plastering trade, like Marcus has done and like Dan's done. So we'll kick off. Good morning, Dan.
Morning. How's it going?
Good, mate. How you doing, Marcus? You okay?
Yeah, all good. Thank you, mate.
All good. Dan, you were a chef.
I was 14 years.
That? 14 years as a chef. Talk about that and what led to your decision to become a plasterer, moving from being a chef to becoming a plasterer. What led to that decision?
So when I first left school, I actually started off working for a damp proofing company when I was 16, and I quite enjoyed it. But long story short, I fell out with the guy that was teaching me. He was quite nasty, so I thought, every plasterer is going to be the same. Don't fancy this. Back then, it was always quite hard to start a new career. So I started washing up in the kitchen, just out of like necessity to pay rent and stuff. And then I was actually planning to go on a catering course. And the head chef said, "Do you want to start here? Do you want to start picking up how to cook?" And I thought, yeah, that's a good career. Went from there, and then I quite enjoyed it, but I think the work-life balance as a chef, unless you've done it, a lot of people will say to you, "Oh, that's long hours. Oh, it's continuous. You've got to do 60 hours a week just to make bread, you know."
Wow.
Literally. So you work in Wednesday to Sunday, split shifts, sometimes not even split shifts. You're stood in the kitchen all day. Someone calls sick, got cover for them. It's just. So then I thought, well, I've had enough of this, and I wouldn't mind going back to plastering. So I went to college at the tender age of 31. Learned absolutely nothing. By the way. so yeah, yeah, exactly. You couldn't even write it. The things that they teach you. But yeah, so
I was having a talk with Rich Welfare yesterday about apprenticeships, because Coventry College, where I live, they've actually just lost their rights for apprenticeships. They've just been basically shut down for being incompetent, because honestly, mate, it was piss poor. I'd have lads turning up to college and the tutor just wouldn't turn up, or he'd turn up pissed.
Yeah.
And you're paying for these lads to go. You sort of pay them for that fifth day of day release. You're paying them a day's pay. Fair enough, it's not a lot of money, but you're still paying them nevertheless. And they're turning up, and the tutors aren't even turning up half the time. Yeah. So no, and they were teaching them, how to one coat. It was just everything was wrong about the training. So it's sad, really, but hopefully
the problem that I found when I was at college was they were teaching you like prehistoric methods of plastering. They were teaching you how to scrim with the old cotton scrim, that you put sand and cement on. And I'm stood there and I'm like, I can't see that in any Travis Perkins. Why are we using that? And like, just how we do it. That's the old traditional way.
Are you still using cotton scrim, Marcus? In Norfolk? Are you guys in Norfolk still using the cotton scrim?
I'm taking a lot of it out. I know that much.
You said earlier that you're a few years behind in Norfolk.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt.
Also putting boards up with the old style, literally hammer and nails. I said to the bloke, I said, are we not using drills? He's like, no, hammer and nails. And I'm like, right. So that's how far behind. And I was learning that in Nottingham when I was living in Nottingham.
Yeah.
So that's how, and I was paying for that course as well, £4,000 a year.
Wow.
It was quite.
Because obviously being over 19, you have to fund it yourself. And was this evening classes then?
Well, I was doing it on my days off. Was working. It was literally on my days off, Monday, Tuesday, in the kitchen. It was that have the morning off, go to college, same on Tuesday, back to work Wednesday to Sunday.
Wow.
So whilst I was doing that, I was so determined to be a plasterer because a lot of people said I wouldn't be. A lot of the chefs I was working with were like, "You ain't gonna make it. Why? No. How's that gonna make you? You can't do it." And actually, I took a lot from people doubting me. I thought, you know what, I will be a plasterer.
So did you manage to get in with a local spread to teach you properly, or was it a case of you just had to sort of teach yourself these modern methods?
At the time, I wanted to go on with a firm, but I wanted to kind of like clarify that I wanted to be a plasterer. So I was using college as something to give me a bit of fire. And when I was going to college, I was like, yeah, I like this. So I didn't want to go into a firm and get kicked around and bullied and So I just wanted to just get the fire, and I knew I had it. So then I started bringing firms around. Didn't really get far with the firms until I got hold of one guy, and it just all went from there. My career just went boom. He was like, "Yeah, I'll take you on." You know, so I was kind of quite lucky. I found the right person at the right time.
Right, and now you've gone self-employed and started your own plastering business a few years on. How's that going?
Well, so when I was learning how to be a plasterer, it was up in Nottingham. I come back to Bath, and then I was like, I'm just going to go on my own. And bear in mind, I'd not lived in Bath for a long time. So although I knew people, no one knew I was a plasterer. So it was basically like turning up in the city going, I'm a plasterer, you know? Yeah. And it's really hard.
So you're invisible.
And then going self-employed. Yeah, self-employed. It is quite hard, but I'd say it's the best thing I've ever done.
Brilliant. And Marcus, does this journey sound like yours, or did you have a similar experience where you got fed up with the hours, looking for more flexibility, maybe earn a bit more money, and you just jumped ship? Or was your story a bit different?
I mean, I was in the print trade before I was a plasterer, right. And I'd done that pretty much from leaving school, and learned quite a lot in there. I was earning really good money, but I was bored of it, and I tried to leave, and they wouldn't let me leave because I had so much knowledge. So then I went to manage the warehouse, and did all right at that, made it quite profitable, and then things happened there which I can't really go into, but I ended up leaving. And then my wife owned a preschool at the time, and a lot of her families had different trades, as you know, people with young families can probably attest to. And one of the guys, he did a bit of property maintenance and that, and I went and helped him for a bit. No, I just wanted to do a bit more than labour. So he was one of these multi-trades, but not very good at any of them. You know what I mean? Right. And, so one of the things he couldn't do was plaster. So I went to the job centre. I was getting JSA at the time, Job Seekers Allowance. And then they had this little course, which was really aimed at sort of, I don't know, maybe 18, 19 young people. And it was really designed so that they could say that they'd been to a training course and then still get the benefits, of course. So it was it was 3 weeks, but for 4 days of practical. Then you do an exam or an assessment at the end of that week for what you'd learned. So it was a week of bricklaying, which was just using lime mortar and that. And you had a week of painting and decorating and a week of plastering. Well, bearing in mind at the time I was 37 and I'd had my own gaff since I was 20. So painting and decorating didn't appeal. Bricklaying was horrible because it hurt my back. And I quite enjoyed the plastering side. And so that's how I got into it. And then the guy that was running the course, he used to take some of the lads out with him on his own jobs. and I explained that I wanted to make a bit of a career out of it. So he kind of took me under his wing a little bit, and I went and helped him do a few things. But he doesn't use Hawk and Trowel. So he uses, like a cork board, which is like a small spat, if you like, 12 inches long.
Like a cork knife.
Yeah, that's it. He'd use that with a tape knife. So he'd dig the gear out of the bucket with a tape knife, a 4-inch tape knife, run it along the board, and then he'd put it on the wall or the ceiling.
Do you know what? I've seen a lad a few years ago on socials doing this, skimming out bathrooms with using that method.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what,
they do that in some other countries as well, don't they? They don't have
he's as quick as I can be with a Hawk and Trowel.
Yeah.
He really is.
Whatever way works for you, I'd say.
Well, that's it. But the only thing I would say with it is he got a lot of nerve damage in his neck from it, oddly enough.
Right. Just because of his posture.
I think it's just the twisting of it all.
Yeah,
But this is a guy that didn't even have any hop-ups. He made them out of scaffold boards. You know what I mean?
So Marcus, when you joined Trowel Talk, I've sort of been watching your progression over the last few years, and you've come on like leaps and bounds, because a lot of what you've done is self-taught, isn't it? So you've picked up the basic skills.
I did.
And then you've absorbed all this information and video content and whatnot from YouTube and everywhere, social, and you've refined, because I've seen a ceiling that you've skimmed like 3 years ago, and then one you've skimmed last week, and it's like night and day. You finish now is 100% bang on. So what sort of advice, like you're in Dan's shoes, but a few years down the line, you've built your brand, building your brand, you're busy, you've built a solid reputation in Norfolk, and you've come into the game later on and you're doing well. What advice and tips would you offer down to Dan to help him? Because he said he's a bit quiet. It's January. There's a lot of us that are quiet at this time of year. How do you keep busy, and what would you say are the things that have helped you, Marcus?
Okay, so consistency is really important, and by that that's in everything. So that's down to your branding, that's down to your timekeeping, it's everything. It's really important to be consistent, really. So if I'm never late to a job, ever. I'm never late to an appointment, and if I am going to be late, then I'd rather postpone it. You know what I mean?
Or just give them the heads up, little text message.
Just give them a heads up. A few, even if it's only you're going to be 5 minutes late, I still tell them. I always like to say. So I turn up and I do what I say I'll do. And I take so much care in their property and protecting it. I spend a fortune, absolute fortune, on carpet protectors, anything like that. I mean, it's like I'm doing a renovation at the minute for a friend of mine just around the corner. It's a terraced house, much like I live in. And obviously it's bare floorboards, but I'm still putting Proplex down.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't dream of skimming with bare floorboards, because we all know it's a nightmare to get off, and the dust transfer is ridiculous. Same in the bathroom. We put fresh 18mm plywood down. Well, you could scrape that back and it'd clean back all right, but it just doesn't look very nice. So I put Proplex on it. It's just covering all bases, isn't it? That's it.
And Lee Fiore mentioned Lee Fiore's actually, we were chatting, and he commented on your prep, on your jobs, because he sees your posts, and he said this guy takes prep to the next level. He's got integrity, and I said, he's 100%. He doesn't leave any stone unturned when it comes to the prep.
No, that's
right.
I'm
the same way. It only takes a little splash of multi on an oak door, and you're buggered, aren't you? So,
you see, I learned off that one. So I did but that was when I've probably been going about 3 years, I should think, at the time, and I got in with this developer, and he had a real posh place. But I went and did it for him, and I literally got a couple of tiny little spats of plaster on his door. That cost me £300. Because
you learn the hard way.
Yeah. I replaced the whole door for him because I didn't know how to get it out, and he weren't too bothered, but I was bothered. I took it really personally, so I replaced the door for him.
Fair play. And it's just about protecting your brand and your reputation at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I'd rather take a financial hit than have a negative review or
exactly.
If it takes you an hour in the morning to set up, when I'm setting up in the morning, I just think, yeah, but look at later on in the day when you don't have to get on your hands and knees, scraping the floor, washing the floor down with the sponge.
Exactly.
You just lift it up, sweep it up, straight into the van. See you later.
Yeah.
So I find in the morning when you do all the prep, it saves you. If you do all the prep in the morning for an hour, it saves you an hour and a half later on. Especially if you're in someone's house and they've got clean carpet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And then of course you got the van up as well.
Yeah.
It all adds on, you know.
Yeah. But the back of Marcus's van, it's like bloody Ramsay's kitchen. There's a place for everything. But I've got a few notes here. I'll jump back in a minute, Marcus. But I've got a few notes here that might help you out, Dan. This is my 21st year now plastering, and for about 10 years I ran a small gang. Which was myself, another spread, and an apprentice, on and off, because they don't last long these days, the apprentices. But I employed them on the books with van, holiday pay, pension, the lot. And it over winter months, like you said, November, December, January, it got tough, got really, really tough. And I used to hit volume, so I'd have to get a lot of jobs done in a 12-month period to make it pay and to be able to put bread on the table. So I was guaranteeing these lads their wages every week. So some years I was doing like 75 jobs a year, which were like small domestics, like bathrooms, kitchens, lounges, ceilings, plaster repairs.
That's almost 2 jobs a week, isn't it?
Yeah. So we were smashing out a fair bit of domestic work. And it was good, but there's pros and cons to each way that you can earn money, I would say. So I've had different lads on the podcast. I've had Joel Cook on. He's blown up a big business in the past. I've had Rich Welfare on, that does very well in business. And I think it's fair to say there's probably 3 ways where you can earn, I'd say, in the plastering game. And the first one would be volume. So you'll get lads that they'll hire in like a team of lads. They'll employ lads, and they'll make a percentage on each lad. And you have to sort of smash out the meters. So you might get reoccurring work from builders, developers, or construction companies. Smashing out the meters on site, new build work maybe. So you can earn that way, making a little bit off each lad. But I find when I did a bit of that, I was sort of running around like headless chicken, trying to keep the lads busy. And I lost the love for it. So that's why I went back into the domestic market and tried to niche down a little bit. And then the second way is high quality, which is what Marcus does and which is what I do now, where the emphasis is on quality, trust, reliability, cleanliness. And it's about, in the domestic market, it's about winning that trust of the customer.
Yeah.
So they'll go, here's my house keys, there's the kettle. Yeah. There's the power, there's the water, I'm off to work. And they're leaving you with their biggest investment and their fucking pet dog who they love, and they're off and they're leaving you to it and they trust you. Get that, that's a different game. It's a different animal to smashing out the meters on site. And you can name your price.
I think the trust is probably the most important thing.
100%, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. What you can do for the wall or the ceiling is kind of an aside. It's the absolute trust that they have, 100%. and from that's where I get all my work from, because they trust me. They'll then refer me or recommend me to a family member or to a friend or even somebody they've never met. You know what I mean? They'll do that for you, and they'll do that in the confidence that you'll do the same in that person's house. And so that's why, I know I've said it before, but I don't advertise. I don't need to advertise. Yeah, okay, I live in a small town, but I do work further afield than that, and it's all about trust and reliability and just, being fair as well. But trust is huge, absolutely massive.
Huge. It comes back to what you said earlier, Marcus. Do what you said you're going to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. If you say, I'll be there I'll be there the 2nd of February at 8:00, and you rock up on the 3rd of February at 9:00, you've broken that trust, because now that you've created uncertainty for the customer.
That's it.
So you have to do. Sorry,
quick
Dan,
question to you. Sorry, mate. After you.
Yeah, it was just to reiterate what Marcus said on do what you said you're going to do. If you're looking to win the trust of the customers, and that has to run through your brand, your marketing, your communications, your work. Obviously, you've got to turn out high quality work. You can't just blag it. But yeah, sorry, Dan, you crack on.
No, I was just going to quickly ask Marcus a question. So because you're quite meticulous in all your prep and all your setup, does that give you an option to charge a lot more, or not even so much a lot more, just quite a bit more?
Yeah, it does. I mean, so any floor coverings that I've got to do, I charge the customer for straight away. Yeah. But like with the Proplex, it's a sod, because obviously, yeah, you can reuse it, but it's a ball ache having to sort of store it again. So I usually go in with the line like I did this week, and I said, look, I'll leave it. I've charged you for it, so you can keep it for your painting and all of that sort of stuff, and they love it. You know, tell them it's recyclable. Fortunately, on there it tells you that you can recycle it, so they keep hold of it, and that's it. Now, the self-adhesive carpet protector, obviously, you can't do that, but I still charge them for it. Yeah, you know.
So is that not actually costing you any money? It's costing them money. Exactly. It's just costing you more time.
And I don't use the cheap brand either, but that's because I use an applicator. So I use a brand called PackX. And that comes in at around about 70 quid for 100 meters. But, you know, I don't worry about that. I still charge them for it. Even if I don't use a full roll, I charge them a full roll. You know what I mean? It's the same with scrim tape. You know, all of that sort of thing. Just charge them for the full amount, and they don't mind. When I do my invoices, I don't just do materials is X amount of pounds. It's all itemized. It's all broken down. They can see exactly what they're paying for. And that's even with me adding 30 or 40% on top of it, you know. Now, they can go and do their own homework and look online and see what the prices are. But I don't mind about that, because actually very few probably do. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years that way, and I've never had anybody go, oh, excuse me, I can buy multi-finish for £7 from Homebase or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Dan, I'd say you have to charge more money in the domestic market.
Yeah,
you have
people
to.
Expect it to.
Yeah, but you think about it like this. Think of this, right? If you worked for a builder, how much would he be prepared to pay you a day? 200 quid? Maybe if he had a big project, he might be able to pay you 250 a day, maybe, if it was in a nice area.
Down in Bath, it's quite expensive. So I think minimum a plasterer, even a half decent plasterer, is 200 a day. Going up to about 240.
But that's what the builder will pay. But when you think about this, who's won the job? The builder, with his marketing. Who's responsible for the job? The builder. If anything goes wrong, who's answerable? The builder. So he's sort of marketeer, project manager. He's micromanaging all the trades. He's got to supply the materials. So he's not just a guy on the tools. And when you move in, so he isn't going to pay a plasterer 200 a day and earn 200 a day himself. He's going to obviously want more because he's spinning more plates. So when you move into the domestic market as a spread, you've got to cover all those bases yourself. You're not just a plasterer on the tools. You're basically running the show. And if anything goes tits up, it's coming out of your wallet and you're going back to put it right.
That's what I'm slowly learning.
And all this time marketing, converting leads, driving around looking at jobs, typing up emails at midnight, that has to be accounted for. You can't just go on the tools and say 200 a day. It's all right if you've got 6 months run of work on site and a builder's paying you that. But if you're in a domestic market, you have to charge for all these other roles that you're playing. That's the way I would try and frame it.
So say, just to clarify, say you're saying what you just said, £200 a day, just for the plastering side of things. What would you then charge for all the quoting, for all the invoicing, for all the marketing? What would you kind of? What
you'd have to do is you'd have to look at all the hours that you're putting in. I mean, Craig would be the best guy to talk to about this. You'd have to look at all the hours you're putting in over, say, a month. Look at it, and then look at your earnings for that month and break it up and say, do those earnings reflect the hours I've thrown into my business? Every hour, even if it's a phone call, driving around looking at jobs or sending an email, that's all business tasks, isn't it? And without you doing those tasks, your business doesn't run. So you've got to then decide, how much do I need each hour that I'm putting in? Because you'll find that 200 quid, it's not even going to keep the wolf from the door. When you look at, you'll probably be earning minimum wage when you look at it like
that. Take away tax, take away fuel, take away so many other things.
Yeah, so, and if you want 6 weeks holiday a year, you ain't getting paid for them 6 weeks. So at some point, you got to start thinking, I need to be banking bits of money for when I'm not working, so I've got something to live off. And that's where you've got to get the day rate up, you know?
Yeah. So would you say on that basis to like map out an hourly rate? So say you're on 200 a day. What does that work out as? 30 quid an hour?
No.
25?
How many hours are we talking?
It depends what hours you're doing.
Because I work from like 8:30 till 3, something like that.
200 divided by 8, it comes in at 25 quid an hour.
Yeah. So then say an hour driving to and fro. So say that's 9 hours then. So every hour you just added 25 on top.
Yeah. There is that. I mean, you can do it that way. I personally, I don't. All I do is I just charge my rate for the day's work. Anything to do with quoting or anything like, I don't charge for. But then that said, my daily rate for the work that I do will cover it. You see, that's the thing. I've never actually worked it out, to be truthful. But it's like that ceiling I showed you, Stu, this week. You know, that I went and did. I priced that off. That was an 18 square meter ceiling. It was an Artex ceiling with a little bit under the stairs. It was in a terrible state. It really was. But I quoted that off some pictures before Christmas. I'd never seen it. And that was the first time I'd done it. Because you remember, Stu, you put that out there, didn't you, about quoting off pictures? That was last year. And And I thought, I'll give it a try. So I give it a try. And I put a price in of £650 for 18 square meters of Artex ceiling, right? Yeah. That was all in. So that included the materials and beads and things like that. And I turned up and I saw that ceiling. And as I said to you, Stu, I was done by 2 o'clock for 650 quid. You know, and
you'll get some spreads, maybe in central London or other areas, and I would have charged 800. But then you'll get other spreads in different parts of the country and say, I would have skimmed that for 170 quid.
Yeah.
And it's like it's about thinking, you know, when do I want to retire? You know, how much money am I going to be able to save up for that 3-week holiday that I'm having in the summer? And things like that. You can't just think to yourself, you know, because we've got this idea that if I earn X amount working for Joe Blogs, if I can earn that same amount being self-employed, I can pay my bills. But you're not factoring in all these other things that are eating away at your earnings.
A lot of it depends on your lifestyle as well, though, Stu. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be careful, because there are some people that have very expensive lifestyles, and of course they need to have the income to support that. Well, see, I live quite frugally. We don't have a lot going out. I don't live on credit. All of the stuff that I buy at the local builders merchants, I buy out of my money. I don't have credit accounts or anything like that. So it's, you just got to be a bit careful, because we see it all the time on Trial Talk, people saying, oh, you want 200, you want 240, you want 300 quid a day, you want 180 a day. Well, actually, it's irrelevant. What the truth is if your lifestyle only needs £200 a day for 5 days a week, £1,000 a week, well, then fine, no worries. You know what I mean?
It boils down to your outlook, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
What you want from life, and ultimately, forget what we think. The market will weed out anybody that doesn't add value for the price they're charging. So if you went in, for example, if you priced up 10 jobs and they all said, no, we're not interested, it's just too much, you've got to then go back and rethink and think, well, nobody's accepting my prices. There's something wrong. Do you know what I mean? And if you're winning every single job and they're saying, yeah, great, when can you start? You're going in too cheap.
Yeah.
So it's finding that balance where, it's a sweet spot, isn't it? You don't want to be coming across as you're ripping people off and charging stupid money. But at the same time, you can't charge if you don't charge enough money, you're out of business. So it's finding that balance, isn't it?
There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than sending a quote over, and within 2 seconds they accept it. Like, oh,
yeah,
could have got more out of that. You know what I mean? Could have definitely got more out of that.
But sometimes that's not to do with the price. That can just be because they like you as a person.
True.
So
yeah.
Often I've won a job before I've even got there. You know what I mean? And
That's the important. That's the importance of going in person, because same as you, Marcus. If I go there in person, I think I've got a 95% success rate because I just kill them with kindness, and I think they feel comfortable with me being in their house. Yeah. So,
and that's
where video marketing comes in.
Yeah.
That's where video marketing will come in, because you can create that trust and that certainty before you've met them by creating videos and having. I mean, I've got like 135-star reviews that I've built up over 9 years across like 4 platforms online, all free. And you know that today people aren't just going to phone a plasterer and go, yeah, come round. They're going to research you. They're going to go on your personal Facebook page to see whether you're, a psychopath. They're going to check all your reviews to see if you've got any negative reviews, and then they'll call you up. So that trust that you're on about, where you say, if I go round there in person, I can charm them and win them over. You can do that before you've even left the house, because you can do it virtually through videos. You can create that brand and that trust. That's what Joel Cook does through his YouTube videos. People will phone him and say, look, I feel like I know you because I've been watching your videos for years. I can see you're a trustworthy guy, and you can win them over that way.
That's something that we're going to learn from Craig. But I mean, just speaking to you now, I mean, you saw me last week when we was on that Zoom meeting with Craig. I was a bag of bones shaking. I was so nervous. But now, I was just like stuttering. But now this feels quite normal to me. Like we're just having like a little catch up around the pub. It's just quite easy now.
But so it's that fear zone, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is, because do you know what? I'm sat there and I'm telling all my mates, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on Trowel Talk tomorrow morning, and they're all laughing, and I'm like, they're going to be taking the piss out of me. But do you know what? I don't care. It's like,
don't worry about it.
You're not selling to them, are you?
Exactly.
It's your customers.
And I think it's speaking to you guys, someone that's been in the game so long, to like not worry about what all your friends and family think, and just they're not your target audience. That's not who you want looking at all your videos and stuff. So
exactly. Right, lads, it's 7:05 and we're all on the tools today. So I think we need to start thinking about wrapping up. Marcus, any last comments? And I'll drop in a couple of questions that I've had just at the end. Any last tips for Dan?
Make sure you wear shorts and shave your legs like I do.
What, in sunny Norfolk?
Yeah, mate. I wear shorts all year round. It's really important. You'll win loads of work that way, I promise you.
Bloody hell. You haven't seen my chicken legs, have you?
Yeah. Now, if you're a bit quiet, Dan, I'm always harping on about leveraging the free platforms like Google Business Profile, Free Index, jump onto TikTok and YouTube. Like you said, you're pushing past that discomfort now. So you could jump on these free platforms.
So just a quick one, a real quick one. When you're saying like TikTok and stuff, what sort of content are you talking? Like, is it an introduction? Hi, I'm Dan from DSP Plastering, or is it showing of like a room that I've just skimmed, or is it, I don't know, because
problem solving. So everyone that phones you, they've got a problem. My ceiling's collapsed. I've took the wallpaper off. The skim coat's pulled off with the wallpaper. My house is cold. Can you quote us for some insulation board? I've got damp on this wall coming through. So they've got a pain point, and with your videos, you need to jump on and basically prod at them pain points, and just basically say, look, this is the pain point, and this is what I've done to fix the problem. And you're just demonstrating it through video, and it only has to be a minute or 2 minutes. But they'll watch it and go, oh, I mean, I've just had a lead through for a cold bay window, for example, because they're seeing on my TikTok that I was insulating a bay window. So whatever work you want to do, or you feel in your area there's a need for, you just jump onto TikTok and keep firing off short videos based around that service, and people will see it and they'll phone you up. It works.
But
Really
that
does.
goes for the same for sort of honing your skill. That's how I've done it. So, you know, I've been a bit not sad, but I've watched videos. That's how me and you got to know each other, Stu. You know what I mean? You see videos on YouTube and things like that, and that's where I've learned how to do things and thought, if I do that, that's a much better way. You know, like I put up on Child Talk about that thing that Joel said with the hammer. You know, I've been in older houses for years. And my method before that was to run along with the drill until it went in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But then all of a sudden you learn about the length of a hammer being the width of the joist. And I'm like, bloody hell, that works every time.
It is. You know? These little tips, they're invaluable.
Exactly. But that's it's the same with, that's exactly what you're saying with the homeowners is, you know, you present something and they'll pick up on whether that's what they need or not. You know?
Yeah.
Don't they? You know, so that's the key. Definitely.
Well, Dan, listen, I hope this little chat's been valuable, mate. I know it's been quite short, but I hope you've took value from it, and it'll be good to get you back on maybe once we've all finished this map program and see what we've got from it, and we'll have a chat about that if you're up for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys have a good day and don't work too hard.
Too. All right, then.
Why not?
All right, boys. Oh, shoot.
Right, cheers,
See you later. Have a good one.
Cheers.
See you later.
Well, that was easy.